We have head coach Matt Painter. Brian, go ahead, please.
Matt, just what flipped in the second half with your team's response there?
Right. Obviously, you can't go on runs like that unless you get stops. And so I thought our attention to detail defensively was pretty good. And we worked really hard on how hard they cut and how they get to it and when they screen, when they don't screen, when they slip up. And when we stayed disciplined in that area, it really helped us. I thought the end of the first half, they got a lot of layups, fouls, and ones. And when you get out of position, that's what's going to happen. You're going to foul people. So I just thought the start of the second half, like we got in a groove. Wanted to go inside. If they went zone, we wanted to get the ball to the high post. And then just play, after that. Just take what the defense gives you. But I thought our hand activity and our ability to dominate the glass, that's like, getting stops, getting rebounds, getting in transition. And obviously we had a good run there.
Matt, just the evolution of Braden defensively, it seems like this year he's really focused in on making an impact consistently on that level.
Yeah, I thought he was great. He's just his hand activity, getting steals, getting some deflections, diving on the floor, just being around the basketball. And that's what you want. If you got some good size down low that can alter some shots or block some shots like Daniel did tonight, and then you got some, some guards that are getting after it and, making it difficult for him. But he was just around the basketball the whole night.
Was that his hand he was getting checked?
Yeah, his left hand. Yeah, he just
the left hand, not the right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was the reason for a couple of those that one wild turnover, like when you didn't know who the hell he was throwing it to. Like I think chalk that up for that. But yeah, I think he just sprained his hand. So.
But you think that's just
Huh?
Do you think that's just a temporary?
Well, he kept playing.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, just clarifying.
All right.
You told me before the season that you can't be a championship team unless the guys who are out there the most are really good,
Right.
great defensive
Yeah.
players. I guess where would you kind of assess where that is right now at this stage of the season?
Yeah, well, it's hard to gauge because each opponent you play is going to cause different issues, have different lineups, play a different way. So it's hard to give just a blanket answer to it. Like I said earlier, I thought when we stayed with the rules that we set for their actions, we had success. And when we did, we got very lucky in that first half because we just blew a couple coverages and Bobby Durkin just missed a couple wide open shots that he makes. He's a really good shooter. And we were very fortunate there. We had a couple blown assignments. And then we started giving up layups and we started fouling. And that piece for us was much better in the second half. But I think what you've seen with our team also is that when we play well offensively, it helps other areas of the game. That's kind of our challenge. I said that about Iowa State. It's like when we don't make shots, can we still dominate the glass? Can we still miss shots and get offensive rebounds? Just keep putting a stressor on the other team and then not have breakdowns, right? And so that's going to be the telltale for us, in my opinion, because we do pick it up when the ball's going in for us. And it's easier, right? Because you're constantly setting your defense when you're making baskets. You're not in transition as much.
Hey, Matt, talk about having the traditional big guys that you have this year compared to last year and how fortunate that is for you this season with those big guys and Trey playing the four.
Yeah, and when you look at it, like other night against Iowa State, our two centers in 40 minutes had 20 and 9, which is not awful, right? Tonight they have 25 and 16. If one person had it, what would you look at that? How would you look at that one person, right? You'd say, oh man, he's an All-American. So collectively, we have a pretty good 5-man, with those two guys. And then you put Trey there with them, and then the way he's rebounded and how consistent he's been rebounding the basketball. So it gets you excited, because if you can handle the basketball and live off of 9 turnovers, and then be able to dominate the glass right there, you should continually put yourself in great positions. But they've been great. Oscar works really hard defensively. He's not the same in terms of, blocking shots that Daniel does. But, he gets up in passing lanes and disrupts and does a lot of different things for us on the defensive end. But both of those guys, they really help. They really help.
In recent years, Purdue's acquired a lot of experience being in and out of number one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come to have any kind of general feeling about that spot, good, bad, indifferent, how it affects the team?
Yeah, I probably asking someone who reflects on it a lot. I don't reflect on it a lot. I don't think about it. Like I didn't walk away from the Iowa State game and say, "Well, we're not number one anymore." I walked away from the Iowa State game saying we got our ass kicked. And how could I could have stopped that? Like, you don't look back. And that's kind of the downside to coaching. Like, you can go 34-5 and you sit around thinking about those 5 losses. It makes you miserable. Like, you're like, why you choose this profession? No, seriously. It just does. Like, that's how you handle things. People will talk to you about those losses and they sit on you. And it's actually a really good thing. Just there's a part of you that has to be a little bit miserable because that's your job not to let it happen again. You know, that's what they pay you to do. They pay you to not get into a game and always make adjustments. You got to make some adjustments, but more than anything, you got to take those 2 to 3 days of practice and you got to get your team ready. And you got to get them focused and you got to get that. And we obviously didn't do a good job, or Iowa State just did that much of a better job. But being number one really isn't, really that important, to be honest with you. Being a number 1 seed is in the tournament. I think that there's nothing wrong with that being a goal. But it's also having 1 next to your name in March. Like 1 next to your name in October, November, December. Like, who really cares? It's not that big a deal. And it's just, but some of those teams that can do it and start from the beginning all the way in, that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare.
Matt, obviously we only see what happens on the court. There was a couple plays there where Braden and Daniel were kind of on a different page, or Daniel just missed a lob.
Yeah.
His ability to kind of handle Brandon's firiness at time and then turn around and have a good second half, what does that say about his development?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think he was mad at him about he got to a pull-up and he still threw the lob and he wasn't looking for the lob. Or I think that's what it was over, but it's part of it. You're going to have disagreements. Get over it. It's not, big deal. And but Daniel gives us a look that not a lot of people, with his ability to block shots and catch lobs. If you're going to take his lobs away, you're going to open up space for other people. And now, like Oscar's he's not the same. Oscar's more of a post, more of a rebounder. Even though Daniel's done a good job rebounding. I mean, Oscar gets 11 rebounds in 19 minutes. It's pretty impressive. But no, I thought Daniel has done some really good things. And, it's a fight. Like, a lot of people will talk and say, hey, you should do this. I think people pick on the people that are big more than anything. But, like, the people speaking aren't 7'4". How the hell do they know? Like, you know what I mean? Seriously. Hey, get down in the stance, guard that guy. He's 6 foot. Like, keep things in perspective. So just him, he's really fighting the physical piece of it. He's really made strides from a physical standpoint. He still gets stood up. He's just got to be lower. His hips have got to be lower than his man's hips on box outs and post ups. And it's hard because normally long, skinny dudes are upright. But you can't play this game upright. You got to be the first to hit, and you got to be lower than your guy.
Matt, this is a month where games can be kind of spaced out. I guess from the human and mentality standpoint, how nice was it to have a game just a few days after losing to Iowa State rather than have to sit on it for 8 or 9 days? Right,
yeah, it's great. When you win a big game, just like they did, they won the big game against Indiana, and now they have that all that time off right there. That's fun going to practice, man. Like, you know what I mean? But you learn a lot. I always tell them champions get off the canvas. Everybody gets knocked down. What do you do after you get knocked down? And so, yeah, it is really good to be able to play a game, again and get back out there. Because it's frustrating. These guys sacrifice a lot. They put a lot of time into it. You got a top 10 game, and, we didn't show up. And a lot of that had to do with Iowa State and how good they are. But it's not over. I just said, you can say you have a lot of goals. You have 2 goals. Win the Big Ten and win a national championship. And those 2 goals aren't out of the wicket. When you say, hey, you can't do either one of those and your season's over, then, be upset. But, get it figured out. Get it figured out. Move to the next game.
Back to Daniel real quick. I know it wasn't 100% success rate today, but is he particularly good at those lob rolls? You've had guys that tall before who struggle to make that play.
Yeah, he's
I
very
think-
good at it.
I think people look at, guys who are tall as that being a simple play, but it's not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but it's to the guys before, like, we've put a lot of time into it. Like before, we didn't really put much time. If it just organically happened, we'd throw them. But like, we didn't work on it. Like, we work on it. And coming from different, like as a right-handed player, getting out of something where you can go over your left shoulder is more natural than to where you go. He's going the other way now and catching those, like coming back this way, which it looks more difficult to me. But I've never caught a lob before, so I wouldn't know. Just like you, noob. You've never caught a lob.
You don't know that.
Yeah, then you woke up. Go ahead, Sam.
Matt, obviously there was a lot to learn out of that first half. The cuts, they had a lot of good looks that
Yeah.
didn't go down. But to get a win in this magnitude and also learn that you have some flaws, I mean, is that the best of both worlds, I guess, coming out of this game?
Yeah, no question. You have to be able to continually clean things up. Like, you don't ever leave a game and say, we're good. We don't have to clean anything up, right? You always are cleaning things up. So to see the discipline of how we talked about guarding their action, and when we did it, to show those clips versus when we didn't. Like, we wanted them to go through our body. And so when those guys got those back cuts, they're on the outside of their body. You have to be under them. So we say you have to be flat but not deep. So I like giving the description instead of giving it a name, like calling it. So now you're saying exactly the way you can be. But as game goes on, like now we learned some really hard lessons from playing Bill Carmody at Northwestern. It was some of the hardest stuff to guard because it makes you change. And defensively, you explode to the ball when you're